Ladies and gentlemen, my favorite holiday, I guess, except for Christmas, is today, Jackie Robinson Day. Happy Jackie Robinson Day, everyone. And we are honored to have with us a dear friend of mine, a dear friend of the show, and one who is more than probably Rachel Robinson herself, keeping the legacy of Jackie Robinson alive through the Jackie Robinson Foundation, the head of the Jackie Robinson Foundation, JackieRobinson.org, Della Britton. Della, happy Jackie Robinson Day.
Same to you, Mark. You're always there for us, and thank you for celebrating, helping us celebrate.
Well, you've been there for all of us, and the foundation has certainly been there. First of all, what's going through your mind? This is 75 years.
Yeah.
How does that impact you? What are you thinking about on this 75th anniversary?
Well, it's a big year generally, Mark. It's not only the 75th anniversary of Jackie's barrier-breaking entry into baseball, but it's also the year that Rachel Robinson, our founder and beacon still today, will celebrate her 100th birthday on July 19th. And then, of course, this year essentially culminates for us in the opening of the Jackie Robinson Museum, which will happen a week after Rachel's birthday, a little more than a week, on July 26th. So we are focused on, I should add to that mix that literally we are working to finish the museum, which is, just about the last stages of construction, and then exhibit assembly. And so it really is a transformational year for the foundation. We will celebrate the 50th anniversary of the foundation.
Wow.
Next year, 2023. Rachel started the foundation in 1973. Less than a year after Jackie died. So it's, this is all a very, very big moment in the history of the foundation and what Rachel calls the living legacy of the foundation, which is the living legacy of Jackie, which is the foundation.
So that's amazing. 100 years young she is. How's she doing?
She's wonderful. She is on a plane, literally, as I speak to you, to go to Los Angeles to celebrate Jackie Robinson Day with the Los Angeles Dodgers. I don't know how she does it. I worry a little bit about, her traveling, but the Dodgers always treat her wonderfully. And she's with her son, David. So David's in from Tanzania, where he lives. And she will also meet up with her, David's oldest child, who lives in Los Angeles, Io Robinson, who's terrific. So I'm sure they'll have a great time. We'll hold it down here in New York City with the Mets, the Yankees. Everybody's celebrating. So the Mets actually have a home game that afternoon. So some of our team will be out at the Mets, and she's doing amazingly well. She's lucid. She's excited. She understands the import of the day. I hope they don't wear her out, because we need her to come back and cut that ribbon in July. So I said, don't wear out her public persona today.
If you would, give everyone, Della, a little tease about the museum. What are we going to see in this new museum?
Yeah, what I'm excited about it, there has been a lot written about Jackie Robinson. There are more books coming out this year. Everybody's taking advantage of this sort of, milestone of his legacy. But what I'm most excited about, in addition to our 4,500 incredible, precious artifacts and portraying his athletic prowess, we have a very exciting sort of lineup of programming that will speak to all of the facets of Jackie's life. What we want the museum to do is tell the whole story. Many people, certainly all baseball fans, know about his baseball and courage on the baseball field. They know about him as an athlete, the only athlete to letter in 4 sports at UCLA: baseball, basketball, football, and track and field. But few know just how prolific Jackie was in the mainstream, that he was every waking moment pretty much devoted to creating opportunities, advocating for opportunities for the marginalized community that we are a part of in this country. So everything from his civil rights work, which, some people know a little bit about that, but it is much deeper, I think, than is commonly known. From the time even when he was playing baseball, he was a staunch advocate of leveling the playing field, not just, the playing field in sports, but in life. And so he had a radio program, as early as, what was that WMCA 1948. So he was his second year playing baseball. He had a radio program on which he constantly talked about, we need to come together as a country. I mean, he got more and more, obviously more and more um, targeted in his criticisms of, our institutionalized system of racism. But, he very much was proactive in everything he did. So we want to portray his economic empowerment, not just his stance and his advocacy, but the fact that he put together a group to co-found, the Freedom National Bank, that he had a store in Harlem. He felt strongly that Black folks should be able to shop with dignity. And he had a housing construction project. He had housing development projects. He also was very active civically. He was active in politics. In addition to sort of, civil rights, he was mainstream involved. You have to vote. The Democrats shouldn't own us. The Republicans shouldn't own Black folks. He also chaired the NAACP's $1 Million campaign, the first one they had. I mean, all this, Mark, but I could go on and on about, we want Jackie and all of his glory so people really understand why he is the figure he is. It wasn't, when we get questions and they're all legitimate questions about, why wasn't this one honored? Why wasn't that player who came right after Jackie honored? Why? And they all should be. But the reason the museum will make it clear why Jackie is honored and has the status that he has, which is all of the other incredible work he did on behalf of, equal opportunity, economic empowerment, political power. And it was that he was a true humanitarian. I mean, he worked for his people, but he understood there wasn't an autograph he didn't sign. There wasn't a letter he didn't answer. So this was a special guy. And even some of the players who were early in breaking into baseball and other sports, people don't realize a lot of them didn't last too long. I mean, it was a tough hoe. It was not, they had to stay in, people's houses on the road. They didn't get to stay in the hotels with the other players. They, went to venues that were hot and uncomfortable, but they would have to stay places where there was inadequate food and air conditioning, all that. We will make sure that when you leave the Jackie Robinson Museum, you say, I get it. I know why this guy is who he is.
And it'll be, from what I've seen, it'll be an interactive experience too, won't it?
Oh, absolutely. No, new technology. One of the exciting installments of the museum, which we're starting to put together, is this sort of testimonial wall where we will have 42 screens, and there will be US4Ts. This is when it's going to be fun. And we will have celebrities, non-celebrities, people who have something to say about Jackie, who have a testimony about Jackie. Will get their, sort of 1.5 minute, 2 minute soundbite. And it will be online. It will be live at the museum. And then we have some other exciting sort of state of the art, big, huge scoreboard that will be in the moment where questions will be asked, everything from, was Colin Kaepernick right? To asking questions about what is the role of an athlete in today's society, juxtaposing a Michael Jordan who, chose not to be as active politically, but who people need to know did a whole lot. He made money, and he continues to be one of the most generous athletes, philanthropy wise. So, you juxtapose a Michael Jordan against the stuff that, LeBron James and Maverick Carter are doing, which is, owning their brand. Right. So we will cover those issues. And there's a big, there's a component where you can literally stand at one of the columns, answer a question, and then in real time, you will get the responses from other people in the museum and online and what their view was of a particular question. So lots of fun stuff like that.
No, that's great. And we look forward to that. As you're talking, it occurs to me, Della, that he was ubiquitous. He covered a lot of areas because he was so tireless. And I can't think of an activist more involved than he was in the 20th century, other than the likes of Du Bois and Booker T. Washington and Dr. King even. ESPN has, for those who haven't seen it, even has a new very short film documentary out of brothers done the research. And Della, I presume you may have already known this, but
we were working with them.
Jackie Robinson, Harry Belafonte, and Sidney Poitier, God rest his soul, were involved in the students that were able to come here from Africa to go to college and learn and get degrees. And one of the young men that was sponsored was Barack Obama Sr. And it just goes to show you how long Jackie's arms were. He even has some responsibility for the father of the first black president coming to the United States and being introduced to education here. So he touched. There's if we did a Venn diagram, Jackie Robinson would overlap a whole lot of our history.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for saying, I mean, you said it best. I can't really add to that. That's what the museum will portray. And thank you for that fun story, because it's one of my favorites. Yeah, it was Harry Belafonte, Sidney Poitier, Jackie Robinson got together and started a scholarship program to bring African students over to go to college here. And the first group that came from Kenya included Barack Obama Sr.
Yeah.
I mean, that's heavy stuff. That's when you draw that circle, as you say, back then.
Right. Deep. Now, the other important thing about the foundation, folks, and what is really, I guess, what is most sacred about the foundation, and I know is most sacred to Rachel Robinson, is educational opportunities for young people who might not otherwise have them. Yeah. And that's what the foundation does in Jackie Robinson's name. And you all are going as strong as ever.
Yeah, we're coming upon our 50th anniversary next year of the Jackie Robinson Foundation Scholarship Program, which at any given time has 242 scholars. Obviously, thank you for your on-site advertisement of why it's 242. Who we now have a graduate component, so that number will come up higher. For those of you who do research in Google, you may see a number, 275, but what that's the remaining number are those who we are supporting in graduate school. We call it our extra innings program. Right. We started last year to success we didn't expect, frankly, an online platform called JRF Impact. And JRF Impact is essentially sharing our 42 strategies for college success curriculum with the broader population of Black students across the country. So we expected about 1,500 to sign up. That was really, that started with those who apply to the program. We get about 4,000 applications a year. And we're only choosing between 60 and 70 students from that group. So it's a very competitive scholarship. But what we did when we talked about how do we scale the program further, rather than adding, additional core scholars, we wanted a broader reach. And so we started this program where we put that curriculum online. And the first year we thought we'd get 1,500. We got 4,300 students matriculating from every single state in the country, including the Virgin Islands and Washington, D.C., of course. But we didn't expect that many to sign on, and that program's growing exponentially. This next year, with the next class that will come in online, we expect that to at least double. So the idea is to take those strategies for success. Don't get me wrong, 85% of what we talk to college students about applies to every college student. And these are my numbers, 85, 90% is every college student needs to know. Go see your go to office hours with your professor, read, do as much of the reading as you can. How do you strategize to read a politics course that has 5,000 pages, which nobody can possibly read? How do you get through that material, et cetera? Those are all, get to know your campus. But then, another 15 to 10% of our curriculum for African-American college students, it focuses on those things that are unique to our particular community. And what are those? Those are things like the data shows that Black students do not go to the extra credit sessions as much as others. We find that in the employment sector too. They don't ask questions early enough. And we all know why. I remember being a young law student and not wanting to raise my hand in law because I didn't want to be the dumb Black kid who didn't know the answer, Right. And so, but we say to them, it's important for you to be known. It's important for your professor to know you. So when you do run into issues, they say, oh, it's a good kid, he showed up to my, office hour sessions, those kinds of things, which we know are sort of peculiar to our community because of history, because of, the marginalization, the lack of exposure. We talk about how to find resources. One of my favorites is the amount of the high attrition rate for all students in a pre-med track. You can imagine it's even higher, not quite double, but substantially higher with Black pre-med students who drop out after usually that organic chemistry semester that Black kids struggle, that all kids struggle with in pre-med curricula. But, what we learned, in our program through the years is that medical schools don't care where you take organic chemistry or some of those difficult, microbiology courses, because they're pretty. If you can afford to go to summer school and take organic chemistry by itself and focus on that, as opposed to taking it with 4 other challenging courses that you're taking, because these kids are doing 5 courses a semester these days, you stand a better chance of doing well in that course. And so we created a fund for our pre-med scholars who, so they can take organic chemistry in the summer, whatever the 15,000, whatever it costs to take that course. And it doesn't matter where you take it. You can take it at a community college because, again, medical school curricula are pretty standardized. Law school, they want to know you took Politics 302 at, Fordham and not at some unknown online, college. But pre-med, so with that, armed with that information, we saw a drastic decline in the number of our pre-med Black, college students who dropped out because they were able to sort of focus on those tough courses. Anyway, the point is, we are sort of all services. And with the expansion to JRF Impact, we're seeing, meeting them on their own front, meeting them online. So, yeah, that's the history of the foundation, which, we're very, very proud of.
Well, congratulations. And just want to mention, folks, there are organizations that do a great job giving scholarships. And then there's the Jackie Robinson Foundation, because the fact of the matter is, Jackie Robinson Foundation provides full scholarships, does it not, for its students?
Well, no, 30,000. If they're not full scholarships, but we meet the need. We now have you've been following us, I know, for years, Mark. As of last year, we now fill the gap. So okay. We let the college and universities, we let the, positive Pell Grants, we try not loans. We will include loans in that. So we'll fill the gap for whatever they need, and allowing them in most cases to not even take a loan.
Good. Yeah.
Which is helpful when you graduate. Yeah, that's big.
Yeah. And of course, everybody's talking about that nowadays anyway, loans and debt. And so that makes a big difference. But it speaks to the ongoing legacy of Jackie Robinson. There's so many, he did, so as you said, he touched so many areas of life. Mm-hmm. To focus on young people having a chance at a higher education, though. I mean, what can be more important and more sacred than that? And we know he believed in the importance of education as really the foundational vehicle to move forward, to get mm-hmm. into a better place in life and to improve our conditions. That's actually what he believed. And I know Mrs. Robinson believes the same thing. Lastly,
she has a master's degree in psychiatric nursing.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, right. After UCLA, she went on to NYU and got a graduate degree. So
yeah. So she wasn't playing around either. And
exactly, she's a pioneer herself.
And of course, she is an example to us all, an example of education and success. The first lady of baseball, I think, is what we like to call her. How did you, Della? Before we go on a personal note, how did you get involved with the Robinsons and the Jackie Robinson Foundation? What called you to this ministry?
As I was growing up, I had 5 brothers. I was the only girl, big sports family. My father used to always, this is the 50s. I'm not going to tell you exactly when, so you know how old I am, but although Mark. But in the 50s, my father would talk about what Jackie Robinson meant to the Black community, that he was royalty, he used to say. And, when you're a kid, you kind of get it. You sort of, when I met Rachel the first time, and I came to the foundation because I literally met her and a fellow named Len Coleman, who was the president of the National League when the baseball leagues were split, when there was a separate National and American League. They're now, of course, joined. They still recognize those different factions in terms of competition, but they're still under the same umbrella. They're under the same umbrella now. And Len, who's African American and who some of us thought may become the commissioner, but others sort of recognize the realities. But I met Len and Rachel at a fundraiser, and Len mentioned that they were looking for somebody to take the foundation to the next level, and they even mentioned the museum way back then in 2004. And I had flunked retirement. I'm a retired attorney, as you know, and I retired and then sort of said, okay, now what do I do? My kids were, out of school. So that's how I met. And then I thought, okay, the idea was, and I think I even had a contract, 2-year contract. I'll come for 2 years. I'll help build infrastructure. They wanted more of a national presence. And then this museum thing came on Rachel's screen, and she said, I really want to do this. And so here I am 18 years later.
Yeah, yeah. And folks, as we go, hope everyone also appreciates the importance of the museum in the current context as people are debating what history should and shouldn't be taught. We need this museum.
Yep. And we're going to cover all that.
Yeah, yeah. We know we need this museum, and our young people, and some of us who are old young people, would do well to learn. And so we look forward to July, the opening of the Jackie Robinson Museum.
Thank
We
you.
want to thank the president and CEO of the Jackie Robinson Foundation. Folks, you can go to JackieRobinson.org and find out more about what they're doing. Hope everyone will take a minute today at least to celebrate the life of Jackie Robinson and to give honor as well to Rachel Robinson for the work she continues to do. Go online, learn about the Jackie Robinson Foundation.
Thank you, Mark. Love you. Thank you for
all
all you do. Thank you for keeping it real. And I really do look forward to seeing you, maybe even later today.
I hope so. I hope we will.
Okay.
Thank you, Della.